It is 29th of July 2025, 7:25 p.m. What I want to talk about today's topic, the first idea is like, are we supposed to just give up? And what do I mean by this? I think I guess more of the core belief I have with ethics and morality is libertarianism. Among other things, but liberty, freedom, and I find that those who really take advantage and exploit are very evil people, and we are supposed to, win against that, overcome that, not to make it into too much of a black and white situation, but the general idea is there are those who take advantage, exploit, and basically one important element of critical thinking is to recognize these exploitations, these situations where you're being taken advantage of. And I don't know if it's that back in Japan there weren't that many people, or my critical thinking skills were not that advanced, but now that I lived in Netherlands for a while, I've experienced a lot of exploitation and those who take advantage, even currently experiencing. Like living situations, or a recent example is also that I don't, I basically did unpaid labor, and I'm trying to, it's more gray, although it is weird. Like, what I read is that even if there were gray situations, the workers are protected. If you worked, you should get paid. And I'm having a situation where I'm not getting paid right now. So I need to figure that out. But it's stuff like this that the more I've experienced, the more I realize that there's not much I can do about it, or I feel very powerless. And I know that in certain situations, people are being taken advantage of, by the system, or there's those who are in more power, and maybe they talk about it, but at the end of the day, they are kind of like doing all right, I guess. I don't know if they numb themselves, or they just understand that it's just the way it is, or whatever, but there's this idea of kind of giving up. And I listened to this the Dr. K stuff, and talks about removing of ahamkara. And to me, I don't understand how someone removing the ahamkara would still put boundaries. I feel like if you don't have an ego, if you don't sort of, I don't know, if you don't really have a reinforcement of your self-concept, you wouldn't really care for stream rollers. Sorry, not stream. Steamrollers. It, but I understand that's maybe not necessarily the case. I just don't understand that point. but maybe it is. Maybe you can kind of live above those who take advantage. I'm not sure. But the general idea is I feel like you kind of live above it by just letting it happen. That's what it feels like. Maybe I'm misunderstanding something, but it feels wrong. But then at the same time, even if it's not transcending ahamkara, people do sort of succumb, give up, or never even tried, or perhaps not even critically thinking and realizing the situation. And it seems that that's the better way to go. That maybe all this critical thinking and realizing all these exploiters and then trying to fight that has only led to more pain in this situation. Now, it could be the geological, cultural location that I'm in that is the issue, but I would assume, you know, this is something that occurs in a lot of or most countries. And I guess also it could be my economic issue that I've noticed this weird backwards mechanism where the more poor you are, the more taken advantage you are. And the more richer you are, like you're already privileged, but more benefits roll in and people take less advantage of you, sort of. That's what it seems like through my personal experience. It's a weird mechanism. But the point is, like, are we supposed to just give up? Because what I have tried or tried to try hasn't really worked. And if liberty is there for really contentment or happiness or whatever, then me fighting for liberty has only put me further away from that, I feel. So maybe this whole way of thinking I had is completely wrong. But I can't shake off this, I don't know, will to try to individualize or reach freedom, sort of, to not succumb to the machine and become another cog in the wheel. Because to me, I just don't understand the point of being alive if you're just another cog in the wheel. You know, if you're just existing for something else that, you know, is often, well, not even knowing really something. Or I guess something else that's more destructive, maybe. Something else that just leeches off you. Like, what's the point of living? So yeah, it just, that's my thought, I guess. But yeah, and I guess just a general update is that a lot of things have happened throughout the months of working full-time job. This might be honestly the only, well, I'm kind of hoping that this is the only full-time experience I had or I will have in my life. Not because it was necessarily bad, but because of what I really want to do, which I've already explained. I want to make film. I want to be a director. I want to be a director and a writer, film and TV shows. And maybe it technically could be a full-time job, but I see myself becoming more of a commission-based sort of career path. It's funny because now I'm talking about I'm revolving what I want to do through the source of income, which is the whole point of me trying to remove away from the system, but I still kind of get swirled back in to this vortex. But that's how I see it. But I think the full-time job was a very positive experience for me. I think I got really, I didn't necessarily enjoy the role. It wasn't like bad. It wasn't challenging. It was fine. It wasn't what I worked towards with studying biology. But I think what made the work fine was really the people around. I think that's also a really important thing. I realized that I really need to have consistent, frequent social interactions. Although there were a lot of things that made sort of my mental atmosphere really cloudy, I think one thing that really messed things up was that I did not have any consistent, frequent social interactions for 3.5 years. Which is a drastic change also from really my kindergarten years all the way to high school, where I did have consistent social interactions, very consistent and frequent because every day, but also because the size of the grade. There's only one class per grade for both my elementary and my middle school, high school. And the classes were very small. So I guess I've known to live in a social atmosphere where it's very consistent. And when I broke off that, I guess I couldn't really function as healthy as I thought I could. So a lesson learned there. I think there were other stuff too, I guess. But yeah, I think also I've been trying to understand or take a step back from my ego a bit more. I think that's a difficult thing, but I'm trying to. I feel that I'm starting to understand, although maybe it's just that I'm in a better mood, so it's easy. The experience just seems like it's easier to understand. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think the job has been fine. I think also just having consistent source of income has really drastically changed my mindset, especially now that I have pretty decent savings. Being really poor has helped me really be a minimalist spender. And now that I have enough income, I allocate 10% of my income to really just for myself. And even that, I cannot reach. I cannot reach 10%. It used to be 1-2%, but then I also realized that's bad too because I have this mindset of just living for the future. I'm not living in the present. So I'm trying to make sure I'm also enjoying the present, at least to some extent. I'm definitely not gonna go past 10%. I think this month was like 6%, which is decent. Before it was like 4%. So yeah, what the idea is, I have a lot in savings. If I can transfer into yen very soon, the yen is very weak right now, so I'll have quite a bit of savings to survive off of. And next month will be my last month. I'll leave, go back to Japan, and then start focusing on my film career. And we'll see from there. So I'm gonna finally put in the foreground. I'm also working on a film project right now, just to start the wheel turning, And I have plans. I've joined like a film watching club here in the Netherlands, and I want to bring that back, start my own version of that in Japan, and hopefully just try to be part of the scene. Or I really realize how important networking is. That's probably the most important lesson I learned in university, which wasn't even a course I took. It was just like a workshop on the side. So I'm gonna network again, start networking from zero. I think that's fine. It's not in like a professional suited up environment like the conferences and I guess fairs or whatever. It's a more casual way, and I could also use a lot of that internet. That's where a lot of artists uh, uh, dwell. Artists dwell, Even randomly, a new player in my D&D, I think I DM one of the new player is like a actual professional 3D artist, animator, so that's already like a start. So that, I think that's kind of cool. I'm not even trying to network, and I got someone who wants to play my D&D, so that's pretty cool. So yeah. So I think over the years it has been not the best, but I want to say 2025 has been a good start of my wheels turning. Finally, I realized that life is really short. I have to start doing what I really, really want to do now, because I don't think I'll ever get the chance to if I don't start. So yeah, and then finally, the last point I want to make is about where I stand in the hero's journey, if I want to kind of psychoanalyze myself. So I've definitely passed the threshold, the first threshold, right? Belly of the whale, I don't know. I think I do feel, want to say I do feel a bit like I've entered the belly of the whale. Because there's something, I think, like this, there's this negative ego, or sort of like pride or self concept through the eyes of others. That sort of destructive ego, I think I've started to shed off, I want to say. I think that helped also make the decision in wanting to be a filmmaker, because although I'm gonna strive to be successful, at the same time I'm kind of okay if I don't end up. If I just can do it, it's fine. Uh, and I think also the point is to not ironically heroize this path, that it's gonna be menial work, and it's fine. That's probably the biggest journey here. So, and then I guess, oh yeah, in terms of hero's journey, the other point really is not the hero's journey of becoming a filmmaker, but the hero's journey of this whole living abroad, because that's its own thing. And right, like the full-time job opportunity that I had, I was actually, I don't know if I mentioned, but I did actually have a chance to extend it for another 6 months, which would probably snowball into having a permanent contract or a new opportunity in this biotech field. And honestly, looking at my colleagues, they're pretty financially well off. It's a very easy gig, very chill. I feel like everyone's going on holidays all the time. And that was one life I could have had. Uh, but that's not true to me. And in the short term, maybe I'll have fun. But I know when I'm going to die, I will regret not doing the choice I'm starting, or I'm kind of doing now, the choice I'm taking right now. So yeah, so in that sense, the full-time job, although it is meeting with the goddess, at the same time, that goddess is also the temptress for me, you know. Um, and basically, the stage I'm at is the atonement with the Father. Uh, but also towards the atonement with the Father, apotheosis, and the ultimate boon, and then to um, I don't know, refusal to return, and I don't know, was it the magical flight or crossing the return threshold? I don't even think. I mean, magical flight, I would say superficially would just be the airplane ride. Um, but more so just in general, like that whole section is happening in a very short time period, I feel, and kind of overlapping. So in a sense, right now I'm going through atonement with the Father. Uh, that is really to start working, you know, that the main conflict I have really is the puer aeternus, right? That's a big one. And in a sense, me not committing to this adult, full-time, realistic life is my puer winning and drawing me back into the nation of clouds, I guess. But at the same time, really the crux of the evil puer is inaction. So puer is not necessarily a bad archetype. It's just that it becomes bad because you stay in potentiality. If I can keep moving, if I can keep pushing virtual into actual, then I've actually sort of created a virtuous prayer. I mean, that's kind of, I think, the right way to think, Jungianistically. But also, just in general, I think that makes sense because prayer is not evil. It just prayer becomes evil when you don't do anything about, when you don't actualize anything. Uh, so it's really about action, you know. That's why I'm making the film. It's symbolically really the atonement with the Father. Although there are other things that would be considered atonement with the Father. Like really learning to put a step down, try to create more boundary, you know. I think trying to empathize, trying to stop my ahamkara or ego or whatever paint my perception, the phenomenological bracketing, trying to practice that in a sense is atonement with the Father. There's a lot of these things. I'm not gonna reach. I'm not gonna completely accomplish them, which I feel like that's what you need to do to reach apotheosis. But in the sense, I want to say my effort towards that is already sort of apotheotic, I guess. And I'm trying to take a step back, you know, try to be able to be empathetic but have boundaries. It's, to me, I still see it as a paradox, but I'm trying. And then really all this stuff to kind of like, I want to say the ultimate boon really is my final, or my current philosophical perspective, which is really a phenomenology. And this is really fascinating because I've started, well, I think, was it for my first year? Towards the end of my first year, I think. Towards the end of my first year, I came to the conclusion of empiricism, that science was the true, it's objective. That became sort of my axis mundi, if I'm using that term right. But I came to the conclusion at some point recently, I think, that this sort of rationality, empiricism, trying to reduce into data, information, average, you know, the scientific method. This is all just another form of religion, you know. Because when you think about it, how do you know rationality is right? Or how do you know rationality is, right, the right way to see the world? Why is objectivity right? And that's because you have faith in seeing objectivity as the right way to see it. A lot, I would say, has to do with society telling me to be rational, to see the material, to remove from the spiritual. And the thing is, it's not like I've reintroduced spirituality into my world. It's more that I realize being spiritual or religious, that's just one way of seeing the world. And equally, almost, I would say, because I'm still biased towards empiricism, but almost equally, empiricism, science, objectivity, rationality is also just another way to see the world. It doesn't matter that evidence is king. That's still your way of looking at things. And ultimately, it's that no matter how objective you try to be, or no matter how faithful, I guess, I don't know, the religious or faithful or spiritual you try to be, whatever it is, everything is mediated through your thoughts and perception. And you're going to have biases, or I think Buddhists would say judgment. That, like, at the end of the day, there isn't really anything, but we have biases, and our conception of anything is based on its relative relation to anything else. That, that's I have this sort of semiotic understanding of the world as well. And then everything's mediated, Even if there's no technology, there's no medium, our body is a medium as well. It mediates the brain from interacting, or it mediates the brain interacting with the environment, or the mind even, if there is one. And so it's all phenomenological. It's all really happening in our mind. Reality is happening in our mind, not in a cynic's way. I'm not saying reality might not be real, or you can't really prove it. It's more so you can't. It's not even about trying to prove something, just that reality happens in your mind. And that's why I should be able to take a step back and say, hey, this negative experience, this bias perception, that's my brain. I'm glad I can be very almost sound healthy and positive, but I think that's because maybe I'm just in a good mood. But I guess that's an example of me trying to explain my world through phenomenology right now. So I think at the end of the day, that's that. And I would say that's the ultimate boon. And of course, I really find it funny reading The Hero with a Thousand Faces, because I understand this sort of mindset is not going to translate. I think it would offend people who have a strong grip on reality. And I guess as I try to still be a human, interact in society with my family, that I would say more traditional, I have to learn my ways to it's not about trying not to sound or be perceived as crazy, but not say things in a way that would be offensive or be taken or misunderstood. My words cannot be destructive. In some sense, it's the insulation, right? It could be that I wouldn't just really talk about it explicitly. At least maybe I could show it through my behavior. I think there's some people who would really be interested in just talking about it, listening. And I sound very narcissistic, but it's not like I'm trying to be someone who's going to teach what I've learned. I'm more interested in sharing. I think the fascinating thing about phenomenology is that now that I understand that sort of like the reality is my mind, I want to know how other realities are. Like, I want to hear from other people's perspective how their world works. And luckily, at least even in Netherlands here, I have a friend who is also very intelligent, who is very intelligent, and we had a great time talking philosophy for the whole day, basically. Um, so those kind of stuff, and he talked about how he sees the world connecting spiritual. It's fascinating because I cannot see it like that. To me, that seems too much of projection, if that makes sense. But the irony is, I'm probably projecting a lot right now through my new idea, new perspective. So, yeah, I think but at the end of the day, if I want to go back to my first point about giving up and all that, there's a part of me that I think it's annoying that uh, you know, it's annoying that I've been taken advantage of, and I wasted time. Well, I still got something out of it, like experience and just talking to people, um, but like not being paid for labor. Uh, all that is very upsetting, but at the same time, it's like I sometimes think I have to just let it go. That maybe there are powers that I cannot overcome, and the struggle will just eat me. And if I already have something I'm trying to work hard on, and uh, I'm going to enjoy. There's going to be a lot of hardships, I know, but I think I'm going to enjoy. And I know if I work on it, I won't regret it when I die. Um, then maybe I can just let it go, you know. I think it is giving up. But in a certain way, I'm taking my attention to something else. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know, but I guess that's how it be. So I'll probably make another entry towards the end, and then my journal entries will start from another country. So that will be exciting.